Namaste everyone. I'm Dr. Madhav, radiologist. My warm greetings to all of you from Bengaluru. For some time now, I have been weighing a few thoughts about the ways of bringing medical fraternity much closer to the community. I also come across individuals who make significant contributions that enhance the lives of others. I wanted to introduce these success stories around us to you all. The best way to do this would be directly hearing from them. So, the idea behind this series of interviews is to recognize and celebrate each success around us. These are the people who toil their lives with the goals to make this world better. These are the common heroes who matter to us and who made the difference. These are the people who would prefer to be identified by their deeds, the ways they were achieved, and the values behind them. Welcome to my show, LifeScan with Madhav. Let us celebrate success with values. Hope this would inspire many more amongst us. Namaste, everyone. Welcome you to this fresh episode of LifeScan with Madhav. Today we have our special guest, Dr. Goutam Pujari. Goutam, straight away we will enter into the chat mode.
Thank you, Dr. Madhav, to calling me on your chat show.
Yeah. Goutam, your name is Goutam Vilas Pujari. I'm curious to know how that Pujari came there, the surname. Obviously, I can relate it, but I want to know more on that.
Yeah, so we have in my hometown, in a village, we have a temple, and we are actually Pujari of that temple. It's been coming from ages, and we get our turn of doing puja in the temple once in 8 years.
Okay, so you get in once in 8 years, is it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and which is that particular place in Chikkodi Taluk?
It is a village called Shamnewadi, and the temple is of Ramlingeshwar.
Ramalingeshwara temple.
Yeah.
Great. So combination of Rama and Ishwar, is it, Goutam?
Yes.
Great. And your schooling was in the same place? I mean, was it in Chikkodi or?
Yeah. So I studied in Chikkodi, and then moved to a place which is closer to my village, which is Shamnewadi, where my grandparents used to stay. And we have a farm there. Because I come from an agricultural background, and then from 4th to 10th I used to travel from Sadalga to Chikkodi, and up till 10th I completed in Chikkodi, and then moved to
How far is Chikkodi from Sadalga?
About 25 kilometers.
25 kilometers. So you enjoyed your daily travel to Chikkodi?
Yeah, initially it was good, but I think as got closer to 8th, 9th, 10th, I think it started becoming too much, because travel time used to be about more than an hour at least at that point of time.
So it was a proverbial red bus?
Yes, it's a KSRTC bus.
So you did not have any app to book the tickets then?
No. we see two things. We did not have an app, and also we did not have enough money to buy tickets. It was only because of the bus pass which we could travel at that point of time.
Okay, so you were fortunate enough to have bus passes at that time, is it?
Yes, I think I don't remember it very distinctly which year it started, but I think from the time we started from 5th standard, I was traveling. That time, I think state government came up with this bus passes for students.
Okay.
Which used to cost 5 rupees for primary students, 10 rupees per month for high school, and 15 rupees for college student. I personally think, that has not only helped me, but many students. I could see a big movement of students from a village to Taluka place for studies.
You are talking about the bus pass. I could hear that, it started from 5 rupee, 10 rupee and 15 rupee slab. So would you please come again on this?
So for primary students, it was 5 rupees per month. For high school, it was 10 rupees. and for college student it was 15 rupees.
So this was for 1 month, is it not?
1 month, yes, yes.
Okay. I remember some idli vada costing 5 rupees about 30 years ago.
Yes, yes. In fact, if I look at the travel cost, I think was around 4 rupees one way at that point of time.
Great.
So in that one way ticket, you were actually traveling for 1 month almost.
I understand, socialism of this kind, I think really will have an impact on the society for a longer time. I think this I need to call it as transformational socialism.
Yes, I think this particular move of the government in Karnataka, I think was a transformative.
Great.
And I don't know whether anybody has measured this pre and post, but I think I personally feel at least it has benefited me, and I've seen it benefiting to many people from small villages.
Yeah, even I'm able to recollect that happened during the tenure of Ramakrishna Hegde. Even I think a few of us were quite fortunate enough to have the school uniforms also. In fact, that was the first occasion I started seeing uniforms, amongst us in the school.
Yes.
Otherwise, we used to go in the casual dress. So first exposure to formal dressing was during that time in my school days.
Yes.
And you were talking about your agricultural background. Then how did you become a doctor, Gautam?
Yeah, so I think up till 10th we were not clear exactly what to do. But when we got on to PUC, 10 plus 1, 10 plus 2, I moved to Nipani. Nipani is like about 28 kilometers from Sadalga. So it's kind of a
Okay.
triangular place from Chikkodi, Nipani, and these are like three major places.
So that is for your plus two
Plus,
PUC.
yes.
Mhm.
So there, I think it started firming up in the 11th standard, PUC 1,
Mhm.
uh, about interest in medical,
Mhm.
because we had all the four subjects. Either we could have gone to medicine or engineering, but
Correct.
interest started developing there.
So, but was there any tipping point, which happens with most of the doctors? Some kind of illness, or take a role model of a doctor in your own village. So,
Yeah,
was that a case
there
in
was
your
one.
case?
There was one.
Uh-huh.
My grandmother's mother.
Mhm.
She got admitted. She was not well, and she got admitted in JNMC in Belgaum, Jawaharlal Nehru Medical College.
Okay.
So I was there with her for a few days in the ward. I used to be there whole day with her when I was in 11th standard. And seeing doctors there, the medical students, I think that had an influence on me.
Okay. It was then you decided you thought of becoming a doctor. But at any point of later in your career, did you regret this? You might have
No,
thought the other way. Why did I become?
no, I did not regret. I can't say it is a regret.
Mhm.
Uh, I really enjoyed, the MBBS course, and though I did not practice much after that and got into a different field, but
Mhm.
a lot of the foundation comes from there. So I don't regret. But yes, when I was in the second year of MBBS, I started thinking, what can I do different with this degree? That's what that started when I was in second year.
Great. And as you said, Gautam, you prefer to choose a relatively less trodden path, being into clinical research. So would you please tell us, how did you end up this field and how did you make a career out of it? In fact, which is inspiring to many of us. So please tell me more on this.
Yeah.
Being moving away from the routine, the practice of traditional medicine, what made you to pick up this interesting, exciting field of clinical research and ending up as a business leader there?
So as I said, when I was in second year, it had kind of started coming in my mind that can I
Mhm.
do something different apart from the clinical field,
Mhm.
using the medical knowledge. So that was there through the entire MBBS tenure. And as soon as MBBS got over, I and one of my friend, Dr. Krutik, my classmate, we both moved to Delhi.
Super.
Uh, yeah, and the whole idea of moving to Delhi was to explore more. So, Krutik used to say bigger cities has more opportunities, right? So let us go and explore. So we went on there, and we were working in All India Institute of Medical Sciences as a junior resident, both of us,
Okay.
and got bumped into clinical research. There was a small project for which they wanted doctors.
Okay.
That research project, it was in a different hospital,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it was a US company which was coming for that research, and that's the first instance where I got to know there is something, some field like this. And
Okay.
when I look into it, I think that was a turning point
Uh-huh.
because I saw that is a very exciting field. I did a lot of search during that time about this field. What more can be done in this? Are there any master degrees for learning more about this?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I spent about 2.5 years doing that, all of that, before
Okay.
I went to do the master degree. But more importantly, this field had medical
Mm-hmm.
research, and then the
Okay.
management. So
So,
it had all three combination which excited me.
okay, you said it has medicine, research, and leadership,
Yes,
the business
management.
partner.
Yeah, management part of it.
Okay. And I could note you said you were searching for it. So you didn't say Google search. So was Google existing at that point of time when you were doing the research, more research on this
Google, I
opportunity?
think, had just started, and
Uh,
just to give example, even in AIMS, we had only two computers with internet, and that was very slow. But we used to get some half an hour time when we go there, and we were trying to use that. And I have used Google for searching medical colleges for universities which could give master degree in clinical research,
Okay.
and could find about 5 to 7 across different countries, and
Okay.
finally chose Hong Kong to do it.
That's interesting. And how long was that in Hong Kong?
So Hong Kong was a Master of Medical Sciences with thesis. It was 1 year full-time course. It was an intense course.
Super. And Gautam, of course, hard work does matter, but at the same time, making appropriate decisions at a right time, that proves to be vital. And you did that at a right juncture of point in terms of the way clinical research was developing at that point of time. So please tell me more on that, and also on the drug development responsibilities you have done over last 2 decades or so.
Yeah. So I think if we look back, 2000 was a year where, if from a pharma industry perspective, not much clinical research was being done in India. It was just
Mhm.
starting. One or two
Okay.
companies had just started doing that. From 2000 to 2003, that was the time, I said 2.5 years, I was finding out what to do in this field. There were one or two small companies which started coming up for the research very
So
early on.
for the Gautam,
Not
sorry to interrupt. For the simple understanding, by clinical research, we mean finding out a new drug, is it not? Which can
yes,
be used for. Okay.
yeah. So it's a clinical development after the RN research part, and the preclinical development is done. So once it moves to clinical, starting from first in man, the entire
Okay.
life cycle till phase 4 forms under clinical research. So
Okay.
that point, it was too early. Not much known about this field. Didn't even knew that this can be a good career path, because not many people were there, and not many people to ask and even understand this field. It was entirely based on the interest that I got on this field, and the gut feel that we can definitely build a good career in this.
So your exploration did not stop at going to Delhi. I think it continued, or rather, it picked up from your clinical research, the
Yes,
exploration point.
yes.
Okay. And so far, what all drugs or what kind of molecules you have handled, Gautam? Would like to know more on this.
Yeah. I have got a good opportunity of working on a broad spectrum of products. When I
Mhm.
say spectrum, different kind of products.
Okay.
Uh, When I was in Reliance, I worked on various stem cells and tissue engineered products.
Stem cells.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And because the complexity changes with different products, and I worked on biosimilars, launched
Okay.
about 7 biosimilars in Indian market in a short period of time in Reliance. Also got opportunity in my next company, got opportunity to work on new chemical entities, new biological entities, starting from phase 1, phase 2, early phase studies, proof of concept studies, and drug device combination for like inhalers for respiratory products, and also by generic products. So I would say had a good broad spectrum experience.
So broad spectrum, you meant, the product or the formulation, then you work with APIs as well, then a drug device combination as in case of inhalers, and the
Yes.
biosimilars you referred to. Is that right?
Yes, and also biologics, new biologics.
Okay. And you said new biological and new entities, drug entities also, which you are referring to trial 1 or the phase 1 and 2. So would you please tell
Yes.
me about these phases, 1, 2, 3, 4 in brief?
Okay, so phase 1 is done in healthy volunteers for
Mhm.
most of the products, except for oncology. Then you directly do phase 1 in patients. But these are like very early stage when you only have data from a preclinical research, which is animal toxicity studies.
Okay.
So you try to find out the different dosage strength which is tolerable by humans. That's typical what you look at.
Mm.
So you keep on doing a single dose ascending studies. Like you start maybe with 1 mg, maybe then go on to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. That's what you typically do in phase 1. Then you do multiple ascending dose to see if multiple doses are tolerated. And once you have this range within which you can use that strength and see that whether this strength makes a clinical meaning in phase 2. So from this phase 1, which is done in healthy volunteers, you move to phase 2.
Mhm.
In phase 2, typically it is phase 2A and B. Phase
Okay.
2A is you can do smaller studies, proof of concept studies. Like
Uh,
you think a particular drug works in a particular condition, and you want to see is it effective in humans. That's the first time you have some data on efficacy.
okay.
Uh, and with that data, then you build on multiple groups with different dosages to see which is the best dose that could work. So that could be phase 1B, which is typically in a little larger sample size. And once you have this data, with this data, then you can move on to the next phase, which is phase 3. That's a definitive proof of efficacy and safety.
And
Uh,
where does this RCT fall in?
all are randomized control trial.
All of them are.
Right, yeah, right. Even in phase 1, you need to have controls of placebo.
Okay.
So yeah, so all are randomized and controlled trial.
And I can see that the whole process of drug development is quite time intensive one. So do you see artificial intelligence or ML or similar techniques helping us accelerating this journey of a drug development?
See, if you look at the entire drug development, which starts
Mhm.
from screening of molecules in the lab till identifying a lead candidate, doing a
Mhm.
toxicity studies, and then some animal efficacy studies and further toxicity studies in animals.
Mhm.
Uh, I think AI can help more in the early part to screen the molecules and to see and to predict how it could behave in humans. Because
Okay.
many a times we have seen uh, many molecules fail even in phase 1. So you think you have a great hypothesis, you develop a product, you start dosing, and then after a certain dose level, you think it's not getting tolerated. Then
Mm.
and that dose may not be enough for taking it into a clinical phase, right?
Okay.
So that could be the place where maximum impact could be on of AI. Again, coming on to phase 3 and phase 4, where
Mhm.
large data is involved. Phase 4 can also, have AI can have impact on phase 4,
Okay.
and maybe as we move forward, maybe even phase 3. phase 3 can become shorter, I guess, over a period of time.
Yeah, like any other domain, the research in medicine is also challenging. But at the same time, as we deal with the living structures and the humans, so ethical issues naturally is a big challenge. So how has been your experience to deal with these ethical challenges?
Yeah. So the entire clinical development, the clinical research domain is governed by a global guideline, which is called
Mhm.
good clinical practice.
Yeah.
Basically, it is a good clinical research practice, but
Mhm.
the title of the guideline is good clinical practice. And
Okay.
we, from India also, we have Indian GCP. We called it in GCP. So
Okay.
GCP is very clear on the ethical rules and regulations that need to be followed so that a subject's well-being is the topmost in that. When we are doing research, even from a design of a protocol
Mhm.
and conduct, in the entire piece, the subject safety is paramount. So,
Okay.
in fact, the way I would like to put it as a clinical researcher,
Mhm.
if a subject gets enrolled in a clinical trial,
Mhm.
he undergoes significant oversight from the doctor, then that would have been normally been there for a similar condition if they are going through the routine treatment.
Okay. Mhm.
Because there are multiple visits, there are more safety assessments done at each of these visits. So
Okay.
you have data. In fact, you get much more data than you would have as you would be treating a normal patient.
Okay. See, I understand that from a a sick individual point of view, but when it comes to normal subjects, isn't it a bigger challenge? And I also feel somehow, of course, clinical research we need one here for the newer development as well as the from the industry point of view, both from the pharma industry as well as healthcare and the society. But sometimes I do feel some kind of poverty, which is a package of poverty, lack of information, lack of confidence. So could it be possible that this set of society will participate more in the clinical trials? And is there any harm in this, or from the
Uh,
ethical point of view?
yeah, so I understand where you are coming from.
Mhm.
If you look at, I mean, if Indian guidelines for drug development, in
Mhm.
fact, has evolved significantly in the recent past. Now
Nice to hear.
we have registered ethics committees in India.
Okay.
So they have to be registered by Drug Controller Office, DCG office.
Okay.
They are subject for inspection by them,
Uh-huh.
and only registered ethics committees can approve a study protocol. That's
Okay.
the first thing. Second, Indian regulation also mandate for doing a video consenting. So though the international ICGCP requires only a paper-based consenting where you go through the entire study related information, it is explained by the clinician, and then they once they agree for signing and getting into the trial, they sign it. But in India, you need to do this entire process under video consenting.
Oh, interesting. So the consent, the initial consent you take, that gets video recorded,
Yes,
right?
yes, and is open for inspection.
Open for inspection. And what is the requirement, legal requirement, that how long this consent should be preserved? Any guidelines on that? I'm just curious to know.
Yeah,
Because
so
many a time
different.
in the clinical practice, we have, we need to preserve the records maybe 3 years, 7 years, or 10 years, depending on the institutional policies. So is there any guideline on that?
Yeah, so there, different regulatory agencies have different time frame for storing the
Hmm.
entire clinical research documents, not just the consent, the full
Okay.
data that has been generated. Uh, yeah, like, I mean, it ranges from 5 years to 15 years.
Okay.
And
So
it
this,
says that, from the last marketing authorization. So typically, like for a company, if you are developing it, say for a US market, so if it says 5 years from a last marketing authorization, but the same one you would use it later on for another country, the same package. So
okay.
typically, you will end up storing more than what is mandated by the regulatory agency.
Okay. So is it only the initial consent which gets video recorded and saved, or is it the subsequent counseling also? Say in case of inadvertent drug effects. So how is that?
Typical requirement is only to have a consent recorded, not any further conversations. Unless, if there is a change in the consent during the course of the study.
Okay.
For any reason, you are amending the consent form, and then it gets, you need to get an ethics committee approval of that amendment, and then you need to then redo the consenting for that amendment.
Okay. Do you take any family member, responsible family member also in confidence during that consent or conversations later?
Not a requirement for the adults. If they
Okay.
are minors, then there is a separate requirement that we need to follow, where parents or a guardian will have to there. Or if there is an illiterate patient, then you have to have a legally acceptable representative.
So you have a separate guidelines for illiterate subjects.
Yes, the additional forms you need to have, you need to follow that.
Okay, okay. And again, we were talking about the requirements and some of the better initiatives and the structures we have in place in India. So is the trial is also independent specific ethnicity related trial? Is it a requirement now? Say the trials have been done in West, so is it a requirement for the new drug to be introduced in India? They need to carry out the clinical research in India?
Yeah, so there are certain criterias when a drug is developed in another country and want to come, you want to get it registered in India. So there are certain criterias, and one of the requirement is that you need to do a study in Indian population for the first company which is bringing that particular molecule into India. So you need to do study in Indian population.
Do you generally see a difference in the way drugs behave, in different ethnicities? Because
Yeah,
sometimes we do come
there is
across that
yeah,
depending
there
on
is
the
a lot of
receptor
discussion.
expression.
Yes. There's a lot of discussion that has been on this topic, but by and large, if you see, there is very scant evidence to say that a drug developed in a particular ethnicity is do not work in a different ethnicity. Having said that, when we look at the pharmacokinetic levels, the drug levels in the blood, there are certain differences which we see. Do not necessarily represent, manifest into a clinical differences.
Okay. But at least somewhere is there a sort of ethnic representation before the drug is accepted in India to be launched or used? Say we belonging to Caucasian ethnicity. So is it a requirement that certain percentage of Caucasians need to be in the original trial? Is there any some guidelines?
No, not for India. So,
Uh-huh.
even if you look at the US guidelines, US FDA guidelines, there is not, it's not mandated that it has to be in a particular ethnicity, but it gives a broad statement saying representative population. So you
Okay.
need to have certain set of, volunteers or certain percentage of volunteers from that particular region.
Okay. But from the industry perspective, how do you see this? Having a sort of India-specific trials. Do you see it as a hurdle or do you see it as a stimulus for industry in India?
It's twofold. If you look at it, it also develops the capability within the country. That's one thing, and also there is expectation to show the efficacy and safety in Indian population from the regulators. So that's one part of it. Other part of it is you can also include India as part of a global phase 3 trials. Then
Okay.
you don't need to do an additional work. So I think it's a way to also encourage that part, so that if we start getting into more phase 3, the infrastructure of clinical research would develop in India, because currently our market share of global clinical trials is negligible.
It's negligible.
Yes.
Okay. But you being a pioneer over the 2 decades, you have seen it. And I also understand initial decade, I think that was quite encouraging. But later, maybe the first half of the second decade, I think there was a retarded growth. So again, is there some kind of stimulus or have the structures have been in place? And where do you see the direction of the industry in general?
Yeah, I think early 2005 onwards, I think there was a boom for a clinical research industry in India. And a lot of capabilities was developed in various fields, various domains within clinical research. And a good number of trials were also happening. But there were certain setbacks which got also, I would say, got corrected or rectified, or more clarity on the guidelines, or I would no, instead of clarity, I would say more specific guidelines came in to safeguard the interest of the Indian population. With that, I think we are now well set, as a stage is well set for growth.
Before I ask a question on the value chain and where we need to place for the country to have a bigger pie you were referring to, would you please help us to understand what are these APIs, the complete or the final drug formulation, and where do these intermediaries come here for our understanding?
Okay. So if you look at India is predominantly a generic market, right?
Okay.
Most Indian pharma companies are generic companies. So, doing working on formulation which is going off patent, and
So that is
we are
post 20 years shelf life.
it's 20 years. Yeah, it's 20 years, and we are very good at it. If you look at it. So from there, starting from the formulation, the entire the value chain of API intermediaries, all that excipients, the entire thing has been well developed in India, and we are well set from that. But if we have to move, into the next trajectory, Indian companies have to go for new drug development.
Okay.
So I think that's the next phase of growth that would bring in for the pharma companies.
So from the generic to the focused R&D we need to.
Yes.
Okay. So is it possible for you to give an example, say for example, in case of paracetamol or any common antibiotics, which is an API, which is the complete product, or is it intermediary? Is it possible for you to give an example?
Okay, so API is a key ingredient, like as you said, paracetamol. If you take, so paracetamol per se is the API, and then you need various excipients to primarily to ensure that the absorption distribution is mimicking well. So that's what it is. So like say if you want it to get absorbed in the GI in the upper GI tract, so you use a different set of excipients. If you think it cannot get absorbed in the acidic environment and you want it to get absorbed at a later part of the GI, then you use a different formulation. So the excipient is to create that formulation so that the absorption of the active ingredient is as per the way you want.
So it is in a consumable, it becomes a consumable structure. The API becomes consumable.
Yes. I think if you put, it's a very well put. To make API in a consumable form, you need all the different excipients.
Okay, so in that way it helps. Yeah.
So another example is like you have single dose, long acting formulations. Otherwise, you would have taken twice a day. Then you convert the same formulation once a day. So you create a slow release patterns. All those things can be played around with different excipients.
And Goutam, coming to your career path, and you could make a smooth transition from the clinical medicine to pharma industry and business leadership. So please help me how our curriculum, MBBS curriculum, in what way it helped you to assume the different roles you did over the next 2 decades.
See, medicine has been is the basis for clinical research, right? So coming from a medical field definitely puts you in a strong footing right from day one. So I would say you have a strong domain knowledge. On top of it, my master's in clinical research also brought in that expertise required from a drug development perspective. So you have a medical domain expertise, and then from a drug development expertise. With that, I could build on a career in drug development.
Okay. And you personally feel at this time we need to move a bit high in the value chain, and you are referring to drug formulation rather than API. So currently, which is the the pharma stock you would like to recommend for us?
Personally, if you ask me, I don't own any pharma stocks.
You are not owning any
Because
pharma
again,
company.
I would come back to the same point. Predominantly, Indian pharma industry is generic industry.
Okay.
Generic industry has its own, challenges in terms of pricing pressure.
Mhm.
Uh, so your, top line is under pressure as well as your bottom line is under pressure. So these will continue, right? Because there are many players now in generic industry.
Okay. And again, coming back to the the question of how your MBBS days help you to transform into a leader, and what kind of a leader you are, Gautam. I mean, of course, the situation demands a tweak in your leadership style. But are you a democratic guy, or are you an autocrat, or how is that?
Yeah, I think you said that, like, you need to use different leadership style in different situation.
Mhm.
But what has worked for me and what I personally follow or even ask my team to follow is a leadership which inspires others, right? Inspires to achieve more than what they are currently doing, and in that entire journey they need to enjoy that. That's what I like to do. So influence people to deliver, achieve higher things, deliver more than what one would expect or one would naturally think that this is what can happen. I can give an example.
Mhm.
In our drug development, once we complete the study, we start collecting the data during the study course itself. But once the
Mhm.
study is completed at a particular site, which we call last patient, last visit, right?
Okay.
So from there till you lock the data, right? You do the entire data cleaning and processing and all the errors and those checking, everything happens. And you lock a data. Typical industry standard is 8 weeks, right?
Okay.
So in one of my earlier company, I challenged the team, can we do it in 7 days?
Okay.
Right? And believe me, the team could deliver that and
Interesting.
deliver with just not just because rushing through things, but
Mhm.
planning right from the day one of the study, from the first patient in, they planned it in such a way that they could deliver that, right?
Okay.
And in fact, next team beat that 7 days, and they did it in, like, I think 3 to 4 days. So it's you just have to trigger the right things with the team, and team will also enjoy doing that.
Great. And one of the things, what probably I have noticed among the doctor leaders slash doctorpreneurs is the trait of empathy. That I think that is one of the things I have seen among the doctors, which really sets them apart from the rest of the leaders or the rest of the leadership style. That has been one of my personal observations,
Yeah,
Gautam.
yeah. I also have one observation on the doctors in the industry.
Uh-huh.
See, as our curriculum teaches us to make independent decisions, right?
Correct.
Right
Mm.
from our second year onwards, you are doing diagnosis, you are recommending treatment. Over the period of our learning, that is how we are designed, and we get trained. So we
Correct.
want to be more independent. But this is where we come from. From the medical, if you enter the industry, corporate world is about teams.
Correct.
So there is a site of conflict which one faces, and I've seen this. So you
Mhm.
need to recognize, yes, this is your strength, but this may or may not be required for every situation.
Correct.
When you are dealing with your team or your peers, there's a lot of collaboration that is required, and that's
Correct.
where you need to strike that balance and use it for your benefit.
And from the conversation and emphasizing the word collaboration, I guess collaborative leadership is the current buzzword, I would say, and I'm very sure you are also quite vocal on the collaboration part of it, Gautam. Collaboration, and as you said, empowering, and even the democratic ways of leadership, I think that is going to have an impact on the society.
Yes.
And coming back to the again one more important aspect of our lives, Gautam, about the finance part of it. I have a direct hard question: how many bank accounts you have? And
Yeah, see,
yeah,
I am
I'm
actually
not
closing down the
I'm
bank
not going to
accounts.
ask the next question. How much you have? But what I understand is, it is something like just a few years ago, 50 crores of Indian population did not have bank account, and I see it as a tremendous thing. And the second question is, when did you hear of the word investment first? When did you make your first investment decision? Tell me more on that.
Okay. So, coming to starting from the bank accounts, actually, I'm closing down a couple of the bank accounts and trying to keep it slim now.
You
Um,
had too many, is it?
that's yeah. Over a period of time, you keep on doing because
I
every
understand.
company wants it.
Correct.
Salary accounts are different, and then you have and you're not using it. So
But
I'm kind
maybe,
of
but maybe you
consolidating.
instead of that, you may have many demat accounts with many brokers now instead of the bank accounts.
Even that I think is getting consolidated over a period of time because
Okay.
that's what I think is easier to handle. Coming to investment, when I was in Reliance, which was from 2005 to 10 time period, that time I think I picked a lot of tips or learning around investment.
Okay.
And I kind of tried a little bit there. It's because we were very low on funds also at that point of time. So it
So
is
you
it,
are a do-it-yourself guy, or you believe in
yes,
PMS?
I started as a do it myself,
Mm-hmm.
learn through the journey,
Mm-hmm.
make mistakes and learn. Uh,
Super.
yeah, but in the last 5 to 7 years, I'm engaging, experts to handle certain assets.
But one thing I think all of us we learn is from the payoff chart in the markets. Finally everything is a payoff. We need to balance it.
Yes, yes, yes.
And again, from moving to the finance, and I'm sure you would have handled teams of various cultures and having various the mindsets, and of course across the geographies. So, how challenging and how interesting has been your experience to deal with the different teams, different practically different characteristics? How challenging it has been.
Yeah, I got opportunity to work in various countries to do studies in various countries. Europe,
Mhm.
it's like UK, Germany,
Mhm.
uh, Eastern Europe. We did a lot of studies in Eastern Europe. In fact, I also got an opportunity to set up an office in Poland
Okay.
for clinical and build a clinical research team there. I had
Mhm.
clinical research teams reporting to me in Russia, UK, and US. So I have
Mhm.
managed studies in all the geographies essentially.
Okay.
So there is difference, cultural differences are there, and those you as a leader need to keep in mind when you are actually managing teams of different culture.
Mhm.
You cannot use the same style which you would be using for a particular culture. Like I predominantly worked in India, so I can't use the
Mhm.
same leadership style or same style in collaboration or conversation with different teams. So
Mhm.
one example which I always tell my team is
Mhm.
like when we travel abroad, we have
Mhm.
to carry these adapters, right, for plugging in all our electronics to
Right.
charge our
So,
electronics, basically.
do you carry multiple one or multiple in
Yeah.
single?
So multi adapters we have for different countries. So you need to carry that. Right? And
Correct.
assume you forgot on one of your travel and you
Correct.
land say in Europe and then you are not able to charge. After 2 3 hours your batteries are going to die, or after a day you will be literally non-functional, right?
And
So
you may damage your hardware itself.
that's another thing, right? If you try to do something else, you may damage your hardware. So basically, if you use the same analogy of managing teams,
Mhm.
it is not, you cannot expect the other team to adapt to your style. If you want to be successful, you need to adapt your style to manage people of different cultures. So, you need to carry your adapter all the time. That's important.
Okay. So this did you have a separate adapter for to deal with the corporate politics? That might be the biggest adapter you had. So
Yeah.
so were you a victim or a victor in politics, the corporate politics?
Uh,
Let us be very frank on it. We cannot escape.
yeah, I mean, corporate politics is there.
Hmm.
You don't deny that. and you see it in various forms.
Mhm.
And good part, if you see it early on in your career, whether as directly or indirectly happening in and around you, uh, and you should derive some learnings out of it. That's what I have tried to do, because a lot of things we imbibe from our leaders with whom we interact, or different people, not even leaders, like your colleagues, your peers. You imbibe a lot of things. So you imbibe a lot of good things, but you should also learn what you should not do as a leader, right? And I always say, you can always classify leaders as a like excellent leaders. If you see,
Mhm.
typically what I always say is A will always hire A and build a team of A, right?
Mhm.
He will have people in his team who will even challenge him or her, right? But if you look at a person who is of B and he is at a leadership position, invariably you see a B ends up hiring C, not even B, because he is not comfortable with A, definitely, and not even with B.
And
So
by ABC here, I mean the in terms of capabilities, grade A, grade B, grade C. Is it not?
yes, performance, purely on the
Performance.
performance as a
Okay.
leader, as a
Okay.
leader.
So it is not XYZ. It is the
No,
grade A, B, C.
yes.
Okay. That's
It's
interesting.
a very
So,
simple way of putting it. Leadership is like quite complex, but
okay.
if you put it very in a simple terms, this is how it is.
Okay, you know that always, I cannot go away from only one question on politics. The second question on politics is, what stage you would intervene? Would you say when enough is enough, you send a direct message to the group, or how is that? Is it a subtle message, or is it a direct message? Stop politics and let us stop at this point of time.
Yeah. So you need to do it differently in different scenarios.
Okay.
Sometime you need to observe what is happening.
Hmm.
But as a leader, if you have set your objectives for the team very clear from day one, and also they need to trust in you, right? Because you also need to behave that way, right? So if you give that message very clearly to your team, I think that then it becomes easier. Then automatically the politics will start coming down from your team.
No second thought on inclusion or the diversity perspective in the corporate culture. But having said that, was there any tightrope walk in balancing diversity at the cost or against the capabilities?
Yeah, so I think diversity is something, as you said, it is needed. We need to achieve that in all domains.
Mhm.
But if I look back, early part of my career, it has not been on my mind when I'm interviewing any candidate. So if I'm interviewing a candidate, the focus is on this is your job description we have. Is the candidate a right fit? From whether it's a male candidate or a female candidate or a different region, that I think always has been secondary, or not even point of consideration at all, right? The primary
Correct.
focus and the only focus has been is the candidate a right fit.
Okay.
So if you go with that objective, right, you will be able to achieve. Force fitting diversity has its challenges, right?
Exactly.
But I would say, instead of force fitting, you also need to consciously bring in certain diversity in your team, right?
Right.
Because diversity itself is, I mean, there are various studies which have proven that diversity has brings in the higher output.
This force fitting, was there any sort of example you had, particularly leading to regionalism and sort of factionism, which happens many a place?
So you do see that happening in various teams, but I think the clear message which you need to set to your team is
Mhm.
be an objective focused, right?
Okay.
So it takes time to get drilled within the team's psyche and as a culture.
Mm.
But I think consistently as a leader, if you're doing, you will be able to shift the needle.
And Gautam, you are a modern medicine guy, you are an allopathic guy. and you are into research, but your annual retreats are Ayurvedic. What is your take on this?
Yeah, so these retreats has been a recent phenomenon. I wanted to do it for quite some time now, but now I started doing it regularly. At least try to take a week off and go for these Ayurvedic retreats, primarily to relax and also imbibe certain good habits, mainly with regards to food and lifestyle. So it's just to reboot myself.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gautam, for your precious time and sharing your insights. Thank you so much again.
I really had pleasure having this conversation. You really touched on so many things which maybe I have not been thinking of late recently. Thank you so much for calling on this show.
Thank you again, Gautam.
Thank you.